Welcome back. A new day is about to dawn when it comes to the convenience of licensing. That is the assurance of Transport Minister Guy Joseph, who lauds a new e-government modernizing of the licensing process. In 2019, the reality of long lines at the Ministry of Transport is still an issue that members of the public have to grapple with. But according to Transport Minister Guy Joseph, that level of inconvenience will in the coming months be a thing of the past. A new e-government initiative will allow drivers licenses and duplicate licenses to be applied for online.
What I'm most excited about is the fact that persons would now be able to do some of their transactions online. The issue of renewal of driver's license, and given the situation that now persons are being told you have to wait 3 months after you pay your license, all of that will be in the past. St. Lucians living overseas who want to renew their license would be able to get it renewed online. Make their payments online, and we can even put in a system in place to be able to mail the driver's license to them in whatever part of the world that they are in.
Acting Director of Public Sector Modernization, Marlon Narcis, highlights that this licensing initiative is part of the government's overall policy thrust to implement a digital government platform which focuses on getting 30 government services online. The Department of Transport serves as the catalyst for change.
This has benefit the average St. Lucians immensely, because right now there's a certain level of frustration dealing with going to the Ministry of Transport and having to wait many weeks and months in some circumstances to attain a new driver's license or renewal of a driver's license. So our vision is to allow for that process to take only a few days. So we are at the point where we have gone through the as-is analysis. We've just made a presentation to the minister on the to-be processes, and we will begin the requirements gathering for the system sometime in the next 2 weeks. So St. Lucians we're very excited for this project, and I think once this system is implemented, you'll have a seamless process for the average St. Lucian to be able to interface with government on a daily basis.
The aim is one seamless system to make transportation as hassle-free as possible. Minister Joseph explains that the system is expected to be comprehensive and to complement the work of traffic police.
What we are trying to do is to get the system fully integrated with the police, the court system and everything, so that there'll be one seamless system where we would be able to monitor what is happening within transport in general. Vehicles that have the proper license and proper registration and the proper insurance, all of these things would be integrated into the system so that if the police pulls over a vehicle, they'll be able to get all the data on that vehicle immediately.
A stakeholder meeting was held this week with a project consultant from Singapore, along with the Department of Transport and the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. Minister for Health Mary Isaac told media personnel to ask hospital staff whether they are demoralized or not. At the 56th meeting of Ministers for Health in the region hosted in St. Lucia, the press sought to address a lingering issue with the Minister for Health in regards to the current state of healthcare on island and the slow transition to the Owen King EU Hospital, as well as reconstruction of the St. Jude Hospital. Isaac says she empathizes with the seemingly demoralized hospital staff dealing with the less than ideal working conditions.
Well, I do not know if the medical staff are demoralized. I wouldn't know. You would have to ask them. I know that they are doing a lot of work under extenuating circumstances because Victoria Hospital is very old. You know that there's a roof that caved in at one time when it was raining, and doctors and nurses have to put up with all of that. You know, these days we don't have sufficient beds at VH because we have so many people being sick, reporting sick. And that can be very frustrating for doctors and nurses when they do not have the resources to work with. And generally I think the nurses and the doctors, they are handling the situation extremely well. I visit the hospital very often at night. And the doctors and nurses are doing the best that they can. I mean, I have been to hospitals overseas, and it's no different, So If they are demoralized, I will understand why, because they are dealing with resources that are scarce, and the hospital is very, very old. And of course, some of our patients are not very nice to those nurses and doctors. You come in, you're not feeling well, everything, and you take it out on the doctors and the nurses. So, it is a very difficult situation.
Isaac says the lack of resources at the island's hospitals is not a new issue. She urges patients to heed the triage process and bear patience when visiting the Victoria Hospital or the St. Jude Hospital. As for the hospital staff around the island, she says they too will have to bear more patience. St. Lucia Zouks rose to the occasion in a massive matchup against the Jamaica Talawas. Carrying the crown for St. Lucia Zouks was Rakeem Cornwall, who powered 30 balls, scoring 75 runs. Solange Alfred tells us more.
The Zouks on fire, chasing 171 runs in just 16.4 overs, were able to heat up Sabina Park in Kingston, Jamaica, playing the Jamaica Talawas and defeating them at their home. An unfortunate incident involving Talawa's Andre Russell saw the batsman having to be taken off the field after being struck on the head by a bouncer. Russell was taken to the hospital and the all-clear was given to him after a scan was conducted. Talawas struggled to gain momentum following Russell's exit, scoring just 38 runs in the last 6 overs. Meanwhile, the St. Lucia Zouks continued their thrashing, with Obid McCoy nicking cricket superstar Chris Gale for a golden duck and then Chadwick Walton out for 8. In a previous interview with skipper Darren Sammy, he says, though the Zouks franchise may not have big-name players, the efficiency of the players will be front and center for CPL 2019.
What I envision with the squad we've put together is a lot of effective players. You might look at the Zouks team and say we don't have the stars, the superstars, but I think the coach Foster and myself, we're very happy with what we have. It's a bunch of effective players. We have players for every position. And we can't wait to start our campaign in Guyana and then, when we come back here at home to entertain the St. Lucian public.
Meanwhile, match number 9 on September 12th saw the big man Cornwall hit 8 sixes and 4 boundaries and reached a half-century in 19 balls. The partnership of Andre Fletcher and Rakeem Cornwall contributed 111 runs in just 52 balls for the opening wicket. St. Lucia Zouks will next come up against St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots on 15th September at Warner Park, St. Kitts and Nevis. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Solange Alfred.
By now, St. Lucia should have 21 constituencies. So says the chairman of the Organization for National Empowerment 1. He advocates for the full implementation of the recommendations by the Boundaries Commission to ensure that some constituencies are not disproportionately larger than others. In February 2015, Member of Parliament for Castries South East Guy Joseph filed an injunction in the High Court against the Boundaries Commission. The Commission had approved the realignment of constituency boundaries, increasing the number from 17 to 21. Supporters of the recommendation argue that such a move is long overdue, while critics had questioned the autonomy of the Boundaries Commission and the overall cost to taxpayers of the intended realignments. There is also concern that the changes will put pressure on the Electoral Department. Chairman of the Organization for National Empowerment 1, Peter Alexander, says the recommendation has only proved to be even more valid over the years and by now should be implemented.
Persons in Groseley will be disadvantaged because you have a situation where Groseley, from what I gather, has 31,000 electors and Dennery South has 5,000, which is more than 6. Groseley has more than 6 times what Dennery South has. And the Constitution makes it very clear that as much as possible, each electoral district should have an equal number of electors. And this is contrary to the Constitution, and what Mr. Joseph doing is wrong, and he should withdraw that petition and allow the country to do the right thing and have the 21 seats come the next election.
Aside from the recommendations relating to Groseley, and that is that it be divided into 3 constituencies, the Boundaries Commission also recommended that a new constituency be created from Castries South East and Castries South to reduce the size of the Castries Southeast constituency. That is the constituency represented by Guy Joseph. Alexander says Joseph now finds himself in a precarious situation, but insists that the best course ahead is clear: to go ahead with realignment.
Now he finds himself in a position where he's both the defendant and the appellant in the case, because at the time he had filed it, he had filed as the appellant, and now he's in government. He finds himself in both positions, also the defendant. So unless he withdraws the petition that he filed.
In previous interviews as part of the current government, Guy Joseph made it clear that regardless of which party is at the helm of government, he will oppose the move to realign the boundaries of his constituency. Based on the recommendations from the Boundaries Commission, there would also be big changes for the Barboneau, Castries North and Castries East constituencies. The Commission recommended that a new constituency be created with adjoining parts of Barboneau, Castries North and Castries East to reduce the size of those constituencies. This is the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Stay with us. There's more news coming up after the break.